Hello. Welcome to Unpacking Standards and Creating Progressions. I'm really excited about this work today. As I think about unpacking standards and creating progressions, I actually enjoy it, and I realize not everyone feels that way. So I think what makes me enjoy it is I see the impact that it has after we've done the really hard work, the really deep thinking. I see the impact that has on educators and the impact that it has on student achievement. And so today what I want to teach you is that the work of unpacking standards and creating progressions has a high effect size when we think about effect sizes with John Hattie's visible learning research. So I want to take just a moment to share with you John Hattie's research and the effect sizes that he has. So if John Hattie is new to you, he studies like hundreds of thousands of teaching moves or instructional strategies that educators use, and then they determine, they do research and determine like the impact of the instructional moves that we're making, or maybe engagement strategies that we're doing, like the type of impact that they're going to have if it's less than a year or greater than a year or right at a year. And so they do this scientific and mathematical equation and come up with this really beautiful graph. This is just one of many graphs that they have. So what I want to tell you is that anything that has a 0.4 effect size is a year's worth of growth. So less than a 0.4 effect size is less than a year's worth of growth, and greater than 0.4 effect size has greater than a year's worth of growth. So this is just a few. They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that they've studied to determine the effect size. Well, I want to share with you, in the work that you're going to be doing or that you are doing of unpacking standards has very high effect sizes. And I'd like to just take a second to share that with you. Let me get my computer here a little. One of the things that unpacking standards and creating these progressions is going to do is that it's going to help you determine student expectations. There's an effect size of 1.33, which is great, much greater than a year's worth of growth. It's going to help you know, what do we want students to do, know, understand, and be able to do. And really, we shouldn't even be creating assessments or rubrics or any of those things until we do this big work. You have to unpack the standards to write curriculum, to write units, to write assessments, so that you can determine the level of rigor and expectation of what the standard's asking. Quick story I want to tell you. I was working with middle school ELA. And so we were creating these progressions on a priority standard. And so the 6th grade teachers, 7th grade teachers, 8th grade teachers were all unpacking the same priority standard. Something interesting happened. When we started with their progressions, when we looked at the end of the year 7th grade expectation, we found that it was higher than the 8th grade end of the year expectation on the standard, on that vertical standard. And so that helped us say, ooh, we need to have some more discussions about what is the standard asking and what are we expecting of our students, so that there is a progression of the standard. So determining student expectations is one thing. Teacher clarity is a 0.75. So determining student expectations, teacher clarity is going to help us know if students fully understand the standard and what is mastery. We also, in our PLCs, are going to be able to have some really solid collaborative discussions. So it's really good and aligns with our PLC work of our teams. And so in our discussions, we're going to be able to talk about, what does this mean? How do I teach this? How does it look? How can I make this standard come to life for my students? How do we assess or grade this standard? How can we turn the standard into a progression? And then we can start talking about scaffolding and responsive teaching. So when we think about the effect size of responsive teaching, so of giving students clear and consistent feedback, what we'll notice is that effect size is about a 0.80, so well over a year's worth of growth. So it's really important for you to have that crystal clear clarity of the standards so that you can give your students the feedback that they need to make their next steps. So take a minute to think about, what have I just learned about the importance and the value of unpacking standards and creating progressions. So we talked about John Hattie's effect size in that research. We've talked about having determining student expectations. We've talked about teacher clarity. We've talked about collaborative discussions, and we've talked about scaffolding and responsive teaching. Think about what sticks out to you the most. And on a Post-it, I want you to just take a second and think about why this is going to be important to you. Why are you going to do this big work, this deep thinking work? So just on your Post-it, because I'm going to be honest with you, the work is hard, and that's okay. Like, we can do things that are hard, right? So take a moment on a Post-it, jot that down, and keep that in your notebook. So as we get started and we get going doing this work, you have something that's going to remind you of the importance of it. Thank you.